Wow. Okay. Today we have a lot of Taylor Swift songs to discuss. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Ali and today we are diving into the Tortured Poets Department, The Anthology. So if you caught my reaction to the original standard album, once I turned my phone off Do Not Disturb and realized that it was in fact a double album, I mentioned that I wouldn't be able to react to those songs anytime soon, and that as a, big Taylor fan, I wanted to experience those songs for myself before everything kind of got spoiled from social media. And you guys very generously and kindly suggested to me to just go and listen to the songs, don't worry about reacting, and just have that experience for myself, which again, thank you so much. Just taking all those words in without having to formulate opinions on the spot was honestly really nice and took me back to how I experienced earlier albums. However, I understand still wanting to hear someone's first thoughts and opinions about those songs, so that is what we are getting into today. Now, I wanted to start this video by kind of clarifying or stating, I guess, that I personally view these whole collective works, being like the Tortured Poets Department and the Anthology, as one collective album. To me, it is one body of work just with two parts, kind of like Midnight's was, the standard album, the 3 AM tracks. Together they make up one whole album. This is one whole era. I've seen people referring to it as two different albums, and that's just personally not how I perceive it to be. So let me know what you think. The Anthology in particular is super interesting because I think thematically and maybe even a little bit sonically, this is almost what I expected the standard album to be. So getting to these tracks and hearing the kind of almost folklorian sounds and writing, I was like, oh yes, I know this girl. Just like she did with Midnight, she just did that again, except this time she's like doubled the album, but instead of actually doubling it, she intentionally made it 31 because obviously that's 13 backwards and this is Taylor Swift. And if you don't know why that's significant, I suggest maybe start again at, my earlier videos. Also, someone pointed out on Twitter that there are 31 songs, meaning enough for a full calendar month. So technically everybody has a song from this album that correlates with their birthday. Let me know if your song, applies to you at all. But if you're wondering which song mine technically is, it is of course So High School, to absolutely nobody's surprise. Also, shout out to all of the comments on my reaction to that song. That was so fun. I will admit to you guys, I don't always love reacting to albums, but that one, it's so much fun hearing So High School and the manuscript with you for the first time. That was a joy. So in this video, I'm also going to talk about some of my predictions for the Eras tour from this week forward and how I think the Tortured Poets Department might be integrated and why. That will all be at the end of this video, but I do want to say one thing just before we get started, and that is that Europe has been waiting so long for this tour. They've been watching through grainy live streams, probably at really unfortunate times of day or night, I'm not too sure. They've had to see every reveal and special guest and chaotic surprise through a little grainy live stream, and I mean, I had people last year already saying that the Eras tour was getting stale, so let's just remember how long they've been waiting. So I do not want to see any hatred or bullying if, Tortured Poets is in fact added to the set list, which I do think it will be. At this point, they deserve it, okay? Not everything has to be for everyone. We bought our Eras tour tickets not knowing what would be on the set list, so Taylor is allowed to change it. I don't want to see any hating on her or Europeans or Canadians or anyone seeing the show this year because it's just not a big deal. Basically, let them have this. Loverfest was never even coming to Australia and I'm okay. But yeah, I am really excited for the tour to kick up again, and for those of you that haven't seen it yet to see it. It is actually insane to think about people having that experience for the first time coming up. YouTube does let me know where my audience is from, and a massive majority of you guys are from the UK, all across Europe, and even Canada. So I'm very excited for you guys. And any of you watching that aren't in those locations, you can pretend to be using today's video sponsor, Surfshark. Surfshark is the virtual private network that I use to stay safe online by giving myself a new little digital address, literally anywhere in the world. It allows me to sneak my way in and get my grubby little paws on absolutely any media and content that I want. For example, the Eras tour film came out in March, most countries around the world, except for Turkey, where it didn't come out until a little bit later in April. So they could simply open Surfshark, change their location, and then there you go, they can access it already. I think the main reason to use Surfshark is obviously that it keeps you safe when you're using public Wi-Fi. It acts as a very essential barrier between the hackers and you. It stops all of your information being stolen, essentially. The amount of material, passwords, information, and data we keep on our phones and laptops, think about all the things you have stored on there and them getting leaked into the world. It's just not worth the risk. Now, if they could only help me identify when emails and texts are also a scam, that would be great. Surfshark has seriously changed the game for me, whether I am traveling or at home. It just means I can access anything I want, all content for the subscriptions I'm already paying for. It opens up access to everything. So it's a no-brainer, and it also keeps me safe. So you guys can use my code Sheehan for an extra 3 months free at surfshark.deals/Sheehan, or just scan this code. Thanks again, Surfshark, for sponsoring this part of today's video. I love you, and now let's get into it. So back in the day, before I was ever pressured into doing YouTube album reactions. I used to just sit there with my phone or laptop on release day and handwrite out all of my thoughts about each song, like the lyrics that stuck out to me, what I thought things meant, and I did that for this album. So today I thought I could share my thoughts upon first listen. Now obviously a lot has been uncovered and discussed since this album came out, so like there's gonna be stuff I missed, but I have to be authentic and share just what I picked up on my first listen. This stuff could be way wrong and feel free to correct me in the comments, but these were just my interpretations. So let's begin with The Black Dog. This song being technically like track 1 of the second part of the album, I did not expect it to start so, let's say, depressingly. And this is just further proof that it is in fact one entire album, because Taylor's track 1s typically, I'm not gonna say have to be upbeat, but if we look at them historically, like some of my favorites like Fearless, State of Grace, Mine, Welcome to New York, Ready for It even, they are slightly more upbeat compared to some of the other songs. So beginning with a piano, I was like, oh, we're back to sad hour. Okay. So once again, to me, that just proves this is a continuation and not a new beginning. Now, The Black Dog is a song I would personally classify as a granger. If you are new here and new to my music terms, this basically means a gradual banger. Granger. It is a song that starts slow and builds up so much until it all releases.
Song really builds.
And I feel like sonically this song did a great job at like reflecting how she was feeling and what the lyrics were conveying. Like holding all of this in, trying to keep it in, trying to hold yourself together, and then by that chorus just having to unleash everything. That guttural scream and like how cathartic that is, you know, releasing that emotion. Oh, so good. I also love the progression from Last Kiss, where we have I Hope It's Nice Where You Are, talking about an ex and like wishing them well, to then now I hope it's shitty in The Black Dog. Actually, I hope you're having a terrible time without me. This felt like one of the more relatable songs on the album, especially on the anthology, I would say, because the notion of having someone's location on, this is something that a lot of people do. I have never and would never. That creeps me out and feels like information we were never meant to know about another person. But I love the lyrical play on like, you forgot to turn it off. You know, the double meaning of like, you forgot to turn your location off and stop sharing it with me, but also we forgot to turn our attachment from each other and our love off. My heart, it's still on, it's still beating for you. Oh, so good. Another lyric that I wrote down was part about a priest to exorcise my demons. I spoke about this in my reaction to the main album, but there are so many religious references on this whole thing. You know, I don't think it's all fully sunk in for me what each part means. So I would love to have a discussion with you guys in the comments here about like on, you know, Guilty as Sin, Fresh Out the Slammer. I can't remember what other songs it was, but you know, this one. What do you make of all of these religious references? Oh, obviously, But Daddy, I Love Him. I think we're witnessing a real deconstruction, but also just using things as metaphors. I think there's a lot of metaphors for like shame, and here in this case I take it as her needing someone else to come and like pull apart the attachment she has with this person. He is so deeply embedded under her skin, like she's possessed. Essentially, he's haunting her still. I'm very keen to hear what you guys all think of these religious references. I've seen a lot of things online about Christians not being happy with this album and how Taylor has, I guess they say, taken the Lord in vain, or what's the word? What is the word I'm thinking of when you say God but you don't mean that God? It's obviously not my place to put words in someone else's mouth and tell someone else how they feel. I just view that as an authentic representation of her experience. I find it very interesting, but let me know what you think. Okay, next we have one of my all-time favorite songs on this album. I say all-time as if the album didn't come out like literally a fortnight ago, but that is I'm Gonna Get You Back. This intro, I can never tell when the drums are gonna come in. Yeah, I'll get there. Sometimes a song just needs to be a little bit cunty, and that is this song. Sonically, I just find this so different to anything Taylor has done before, and I'm obsessed. Especially the bridge, oh my god. Gonna smash up your bike, I haven't decided yet, but I'm gonna get you back. Whether I'm gonna curse you. I say this every video, I'm such a slut for someone stripping the music back and then bringing it back in full force. It is the easiest way to please me in a song, honestly, and she nailed it. Now, obviously this song plays with the concept of get you back, having like a double meaning, getting revenge on someone versus making them date you again. And no, I'm not comparing this to Olivia's song, but I have to say, in, what was it, September, when Guts came out, like Taylor would have heard it being like, oh man, knowing that she had a song sitting in her little vault ready to be released with kind of the same title and the same concept, that's gotta sting. Obviously neither of them invented this concept. Fiona Apple did a song about this a long time ago, so I'm not comparing them at all, but I'm just saying like what a bummer that would be as an artist to see another pretty big artist release a song with like such a, in my eyes, fun, creative, smart concept and be like, damn it, I thought I was so original. That's gotta suck. But I love both songs. The part when she sings, you'll find you were never not mine. Does that remind anyone else of August? 'Cause you were never mine. I see here I also wrote down, was the car he crashed an Aston Martin? Obviously referring to this line.
I'm an Aston Martin that you steered straight into the ditch.
You guys informed me that Matty Healy crashed his rental car, and I think that was referenced on the Standard album. Crashed my party and your rental car, right? Was it in fact an Aston Martin? My favorite wordplay on this song is some of my favorite on the album, and I haven't seen anyone talk about this, and that is in the bridge when she sings, bygones will be bygone eras. For anyone that hasn't heard that term before, bygones will be bygones essentially means like live and let live, like that's in the past, don't worry about it. Kind of like let's move on. And a bygone era can often be used to describe like a time in the past that was very different, like oh that outfit or that opinion is reminiscent of a very bygone era. I know they have kind of similar meanings to do with like time and the past, but God, I just love the way she combined those. So juicy. Not to completely spoil my eventual ranking of this album, which by the way, let me know how long you think I need to wait to rank this album, because I'm not just ranking it against itself. I have to fit it in with this video where I ranked every single other Taylor Swift song that exists. So I feel like I need to give it a chance to really settle and sink in. Let me know what you think. But yeah, not to spoil that, but this will be highly ranked. I love this song. Next up we have the Albatross. I think this one was the furthest off what my predictions were from my predictions video, which is great. It's fun. I love to be wrong. And honestly, it was probably the track I was least confident about my guess on. So that's fine. I'll take my wins where I can. And I feel like I was pretty close with a lot of the other ones. Now again, just a reminder, we are going off my like first listen thoughts, and this song was my least favorite sonically, I think. Upon first listen of the whole 31 tracks, the Albatross kind of like didn't sit with my ears as well as the rest. I don't know why. Sonically, it just like wasn't my jam. And by the way, quick side note, I think that's fine. I think people can have a least favorite Taylor song. They can have a song they hate and still be a fan. That is okay. You don't have to blindly enjoy every single song because songs sound different. And that is the beauty of music. One note that I took was when it says, what is it, jackals with their hackles? My brain went, Jackal Johnson from the Cheetah Girls.
Jackal Johnson, he's one of the biggest record producers of my time, mother.
For like the 3 people out there that get that reference, I love you. That also made my mind call back to I Know Places, with wild animals as a metaphor and media hunting people. So to me, this song kind of highlighted the general population, the media, the world, giving a warning against dating Taylor or even being associated with Taylor. I think that's relevant not only last year, but also a lot throughout her career. That was prevalent not only in publications and tweets from Brads and Chads and Dads, but also like to her face. That whole rhetoric of, oh, careful, like she'll write a song about you, or even just the tired narrative of she's boy crazy, she's obsessive, stay away from her. And then in this song, I think we see the partner kind of shooting all of that down and saying, I don't care, I'm drowning out that noise. It's not real, what we have is real. Shutting them out and standing by her side. Okay, the lyrics that I wrote down are, and when that sky rains fire on you and your persona non grata, I'll tell you I've been there too, and that none of it matters. So persona non grata, I apologize for my pronunciation. That is a Latin term, essentially meaning like an unwelcome person. And I will note, the day or so after the album came out, that was an answer in the New York Times mini crossword. So I was like, hello, Taylor? Essentially here, I took that as her saying, when the hate comes for you as well, I'll be by your side. Like I know because I've experienced it firsthand that they can make up whatever they want to say. I won't believe it. I'll be by your side. I've got you. So to me, this had similar themes to songs like Peace and I guess The Prophecy, but we'll get to that. The effects that fame can have on a person. And in this song, comparatively to Peace, in Peace, I think she was looking at someone with a very typical, normal human life. And here instead, I think she's talking about someone else that might experience that kind of hatred and judgment and speculation from strangers that don't know them. You know, we both have this really weird experience with life where other people can comment on who we are, but it's okay. We've got each other. Then we have Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus, or as I've seen it referred to, Chloe et al., which is my favorite thing in the world. The very first thought that entered my brain about this song is, oh, hello, Evermore. This is a very Evermore-y song. I think it's truly like if Cowboy Like Me and Champagne Problems had a baby and that baby was beautiful. Again, this is first interpretation, but I took the 4 names and kind of like it being or and not and, essentially to mean like these people could be anyone. It could be a Chloe, a Marcus, a Sophia, a Sam, it could be anybody. I interpreted this to be kind of about the emotional fallout of loving an addict and how that impacts both people, which is a really interesting take. Like I had seen more written about struggles with addiction rather than from the perspective of, you know, their partner that's like doing life with them, how it impacts the other side aside. And whatever you do, do not think about this from the perspective of a child, like the child of an addict, because that, ouch. On a lighter note, the lyric, "You saw my bones out with someone new who seemed like he would have bullied you in school." Very funny. An emphasis on who seemed like, I think because the general assumption is like the popular football jock could bully you, but it's only seems like. It's not that he would have, it's that like his physicality and what he stereotypically represents. That made me giggle. Award for the most painful lyric, I would say, is "If you want to break my cold, cold heart, just say I loved you the way that you were." And also again, we had a reference to youth on this bridge. She said, "Yet too impaired by my youth to know what to do." Now, undeniably, I'm sure a lot of people made this same connection, but in this song, all my brain can hear is champagne problems. If that is deliberate, I would love to know kind of what the connection is there. Like, is this a feeling, an emotion, an experience that parallels the experience of champagne problems and like wanting to be with someone, it not working out? Is there a bit of a crossover here in those themes? I think the only thing I didn't love about this song was there felt like a bit of talk singing, which you guys know I just don't gravitate towards as much, especially with Taylor. I just think her singing is so good. I want to hear that all the time. But I think here it really works because it feels almost like confessional, and that just drives home the emotion even more. Then we have the hypothetical track 5 of the anthology, which is "How Did It End?" Again, I think this is one of the more relatable songs on this album, about how as humans, our first response to hearing that someone has broken up is, "Oh my God, that is so sad. I'm so sad to hear that." But immediately following that is also, what happened? We want to know the details. In situations that don't affect us, it almost feels like characters that we're just witnessing and wanting to know what the breakdown was, what happened in that storyline that we missed out on, because we received the information about all of the other stuff, how they met, how they fell in love, you know, we knew all those things. With our friends or strangers or celebrities that you put on a pedestal and have a parasocial relationship with, we've seen all those other elements play out. We've seen the holidays, like all of the different kind of storylines play out. Therefore, we almost feel entitled to the last part of information. And I think this is so well written about with the lyric, "The empathetic hunger descends." We're empathetic, but at the core, we are desperate to know this piece of information that we really are not owed. You know, I feel like by the end of this, she's saying, look, I know it's fun and gossip for you, and like, I'm sure there were people writing articles, making YouTube videos even about this breakup. I know I personally received hundreds of DMs the weekend that like Taylor's breakup was announced. I wasn't offended or upset by that, but I did find it very confusing because I don't know, like what kind of perspective could I have that would be interesting on someone else's relationship? And I know those questions weren't coming from a malicious place. They were just curious on, you know, hopefully someone that you view as like a friend figure responded to that information. I don't know. I guess maybe because I didn't really have a response, I thought that sucks because 6.5, 7 years with someone, that hurts. That was essentially the extent of my thoughts, but I don't think I had anything like new or different to add to a conversation about someone else's breakup that I didn't know about. I guess this is my way of apologizing to everyone who wanted like a statement from me and I didn't really give one. It's just because I didn't have anything interesting to say. By the end of this, I think she's quite frustrated and fed up with feeling like everyone else gets to view this as a hypothetical situation, as a bystander, and I don't get that luxury. I am feeling this pain and yet being treated as if I'm not human. Someone else can have empathy and be like, oh, I care about what's happening to you, but they don't feel it. Like they can try to empathize. They don't really know the depth of how hard that experience is. So yeah, with the empathetic hunger descends, even the people who genuinely care and like want the best for her still kind of want the dirty details at the end of the day. And I think this ties in really well to the whole post-mortem thing. You know, we're all examining her relationship as if it is an autopsy and everyone wanted to know what was the cause of death. And I think this hits especially hard when a relationship, especially one for this long, is just slowly breaking down over time. People falling out of love, people changing, like these things happen with humans, you know? But when something like this breaks down over a long period of time and it's not just this one dramatic ending, like, oh, he cheated or she walked out, it makes it a little bit harder to have that conversation around how did it end, because maybe she herself doesn't even really know. You know, there's not just this one clean, neat, simple answer. And I think that makes it harder, not only for the people that are like starving for the tea, for lack of a better word, but also for the person experiencing it. You're like, how did it end? And maybe also when and why. Now that reminds me of a Kelsey Ballerini song. This is when it's over for me. When it's like a slow dawning realization, that just makes it all the more harder when people are demanding to know how did it end. The next track is So High School, which I'm gonna skip over because you guys literally saw me lose my entire mind to that song. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. If you missed my reaction to So High School and the manuscript, I will link that below. Following that, we have I Hate It Here. My first thought upon hearing this was, is this about the secret garden? I had such a deep obsession with that film. I never read the book, but I loved the film as a kid. And as an only child, I just dreamed, you know, daydreamed about finding something like that for myself. So I found that very relatable. To me, this song is essentially a coping mechanism. You know, it's about escapism, maladaptive daydreaming, dissociating. Ultimately, it actually really reminded me of the film The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which if you haven't seen it, I really recommend. I think that's pretty relatable to anyone that is struggling with with a really hard time in life, or even just a really mundane, boring part of life. The notion of using our big, curious, creative brains to transport us somewhere else, even just momentarily, is a universal experience, I think. The lyric that jumped out at me for this song was, you know, when I was a precocious child, because again, that is calling back to, was it But Daddy I Love Him? Growing up precocious sometimes means not growing up at all. I think that's right. I find it so hard to hear songs in my brain when I'm thinking of other songs, but reusing that term kind of really reaffirmed the kind of character Taylor was, especially growing up. She was definitely a precocious child. And I think this is something that not only kids, but adults do. We all have the things that we want, that we wish we could escape in our lives. And it's funny because I know I've said with Down Bad, like it kind of caught me off guard hearing such modern slang and lingo in a song, but I Hate It Here being something my friends and I used to say often now in a song, but in like quite a genuine way, is almost heartwarming. The personal connection that I found with this song is just that I have struggled my whole life to fall asleep. Like I could never turn my brain off. I, as a kid, was plagued of thoughts of my parents dying and just like all of the what ifs, the horrible things. And then as you grow up and those horrible things do actually happen to you, then that like grief and fear and anxiety is only very much intensified. So to me, it's the secret garden in my mind represents like books and reading, because that is kind of the secret garden that I would escape to. Essentially just any place that wasn't my own, you know, my own brain. And, you know, soon that turned into writing and then audiobooks, because I just wanted somewhere else to go to allow my brain to shut off. So this song is for the reading girlies. Next up we have Thank You Aimee. And I had two immediate first thoughts with this song. Firstly, obviously, oh my god, she has capitalized letters. And you've seen me react to that in, you know, my first reaction video. But, you know, as an old school Swiftie, there was an immediate understanding of what that meant. For anyone that doesn't know, Taylor used to have all of her lyric booklets in lowercase and then just capitalize a few significant letters, which would spell out a clue as to, you know, what the song was about. The KIM being capitalized, very funny, very old Taylor, and I love that. The second thought was, oh my god, is this country? To me, this is a sound that I have not heard from Taylor in a long time. On first listen, and honestly still now I hear it, it sounded like it could be on Miley's album Endless Summer Vacation. Just that kind of like comforting, like a very accessible country song. You know, there's the kind of bro country, like with snap tracks and like country visuals, but this one's just like little strings and like a banjo maybe and a story. That's Thank You Aimee. I also thought it was very, very Taylor Swift to say in a song, well, I've changed your name and any real defining clues so no one can say, hey, I know who this song's about, because at the end of the day, it gives her plausible deniability to say that you changed the name when in reality, like, yeah, you changed the name, but then like gave it an obvious clue. It's just so petty and so fun. The main message for me in this song was just how something can still affect you years later and how valid that is.
Hashtag Taylor Swift is over party was the #1 trend on Twitter worldwide. Do you know how many people have to be tweeting that they hate you for that to happen?
It just feels like it's more than music now at this point. It just gets loud sometimes.
I just wanted to disappear.
What would happen if you just called Taylor up? My advice is that you give Taylor a call and try to make amends.
Thank you for your lovely advice, but I'm not going to take it.
I think this does come from a place of like healing and growth, but also part of that healing and growth is acknowledging that something can still impact you years later. Especially coming to terms with like this dichotomy of understanding that you hate this person, you hate what they did to you, but also your life, which you are pretty happy with how it turned out, would not have turned out that way if not for what they did to you. Like that is a very hard feeling to wrestle with, I think. Regretting how you were treated, yet at the same time grateful for what it brought you. That is such a juicy topic to explore, because that is just like the human condition, you know, that's all of our lives. Some of the worst things that have ever happened to us have made us the people that we are and shape our resilience. They put us on the path to meet the people that we've met. Like, it's just so interesting to think about. And this is a really interesting topic to go into, but like, I guess a conversation I love to have with people is, do you believe that like everything that is gonna happen to us is already set in stone? Am I going to step left and then step right because of the things that have already happened to me that have informed my decisions and the way that I think and the way that I act? Is everything kind of already laid out? And if I change my mind, was that already gonna happen anyway? Or like, do we have free will in the universe? I don't know, it's just such an interesting theory. I guess it's like, do you believe in fate and destiny? And again, we'll get into that on the prophecy. But, you know, at the end of the day, the butterfly effect is real. And the little things that we do impact not only us, but the people around us forever. Which takes me back to that discussion around how like in time travel movies, people always have to be so careful to not change anything because it will drastically impact the future they return to. And yet as humans, we all think that the little changes and actions that we take are so insignificant that they won't make a difference. Isn't that just so ironic? Like, which one is it? Long story short, I love this song, and sonically, I felt like she was saying, here you go, Ali, I know you've been missing this sound from me. Enjoy. Like, I think I was texting friends as I was listening to this and I was like, oh my god, country? What the fuck? Next up we have I Look in People's Windows. I need you guys to tell me what 2000s R&B song this intro reminds me of. Is it Destiny's Child? Is it Girl? No. Okay, I still don't know what it reminds me of. Da-da-da-da. Is it Scrubs? It's no Scrubs! Oh my god! I knew it was a girl group. Yep. I hope someone else hears that, not just me. Instantly, and I'm sure you all had the same thought upon reacting, but this I look in people's windows immediately reminded me of this. I look through the windows of this love. What a tragic parallel to Death by a Thousand Cuts. That hurt my feelings. On this song, obviously she's singing about like, how do I describe this? Witnessing and watching others' lives, wondering where that person is, examining their world from the outside, and The Outside by Taylor Swift. And this kind of reminded me of when Taylor talked about her life being like a fishbowl and how she was kind of on display and just the rest of the world was looking in. This is almost the reverse of that.
This glass tank will become a symbolic fishbowl in the music video.
Very oftentimes remark that my life is like a fishbowl. And that like, if I were to like fall in love, somebody's choosing to be in that fishbowl with me.
To jump into the fishbowl with you.
To jump into the fishbowl with me and live in that world just with me, and, it's not as depressing as it sounds, I promise.
It also kind of made me think of Peter Pan, which obviously we get to on this album, but like Peter looks through people's windows. He's examining their lives because they exist in this reality that, where time is changing, people get older, and he doesn't, and he's watching that go by. This could be a very interesting view from Peter's perspective. Also, the lyric, I tried searching faces on streets, reminded me of this. And I see your face in every crowd. I thought I saw you at the bus stop, I didn't though. This song has already grown on me a lot since first listen. Okay, next up we have The Prophecy, which just ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. This song has such a unique quality in that it is so deeply personal about her life and the way things have unfolded, but also is so deeply personal to anyone that has felt this way, which is most of us, right? Here we hear her singing about how fame has really impacted her life, and hearing this song, I got preemptively and proactively angry, knowing that people would hear this song and go, oh boo-hoo, like poor me, I'm a billionaire. As if we don't know that like human connection and love and closeness is the one thing in life that makes us happy and like makes us exist. Loneliness is more lethal than smoking. I just struggle, honestly, with people that don't have empathy or like EQ and can't empathize for someone else simply because they have money. And I honestly think hearing this song wouldn't change those people's minds because that's just how they want to think and feel, and that's fine, whatever, but like, it just really grinds my gears. And I think it frustrates me because I know if those people lost all of their loved ones yet had money, they would not be happy. And I'm like, I don't want you to have to experience that to understand this information, but it seems like you're having a hard time. So yes, I know you guys don't need it, but this is just your friendly reminder that human connection and love and being truly understood by someone that you know on that same level, no amount of money in the world can replace that feeling. That is essential to our health, our happiness, our existence here on earth. We have to have community and love, whether that's romantic love or not. And I honestly think there was a study that said something like after like $175,000 a year, the measure of happiness stopped stopped going up. So that was kind of the impact level, maximum threshold. And beyond that, it didn't really make that much of an impact. So you could think, well, if I was all alone and had no loved ones, no friends, no family, but I had a yacht, I'd be the happiest person alive. I'm calling bullshit. I don't think that's true. Anyway, let's get into the actual lyrics.
A greater woman wouldn't beg, but I looked to the sky and said.
So when she said a greater woman wouldn't beg, and then goes on to beg and plead, something fundamentally changed in me hearing that, and not in a good way. I was like, oh, she's admitting I've sunk so low. You know, someone else would have the dignity and grace to be happy with what they have, but I am so sad and feel so lonely and not understood that I have to beg. And it also reminded me of when I'm screaming at the sky. Let me know if you guys hear the melody of 7 in this song.
Please, I'm in on my knees.
You can sum up this song with just the lines, don't want money, just someone who wants my company. That's the whole thesis statement, and that is what everyone wants. Everybody deserves that. Here is where I really hear 7.
Mind play out like fools in a fable.
The whole song is about wanting to change her fate. And I think that's really honest to admit, because like I said before, there are all of the people that lack empathy, for lack of a better word, and will judge her as someone that has, you know, become really successful, made a lot of money for themselves. I'll just say it, I think that takes guts. And I appreciate it. She just wants to change her fate, and fate is not a new character in Taylor Swift songs. I think of Long Live, if fate should step in and force us into a goodbye, or The Story of Us, in a twist of fate where it all broke down. And in these instances, fate is a villainous character getting in the way of what she wants. It has the ability to derail her life. All of these things happen out of happenstance, invisible string, hard work, but fate, the alchemy, like fate has the ability to say, nope, it's not meant to be. There is a lyrical parallel that I'm sure some of you guys will have picked up on as well. I've been on my knees, changed the prophecy, let it once be me. Who do I have to speak to if they can redo the prophecy? Really took me to, and I've seen it in the poems and the sands. I've pleaded with the powers and their plans. I've tried to rewrite it, but I can't. It's the history of man. This concept of things are already fated, and no matter how much we scream or beg or try to change it, we can't. On a lighter note, the use of throttle in this song, which was also used a few songs back on So High School, I'm choosing to believe that that means this whole song being about what fame has kind of taken away from her, that with the right person, it wouldn't matter. Now, a lot of Taylor songs are about longing. You know, kind of most songs are typically about longing, yearning, or like grieving and loss. But this song, I think, might be the first one where she isn't longing for a specific person. Like if we think about Enchanted, for example, shout out to you, Owl City Adam, but like Taylor was able to write that about a person she met once for one night, and how much emotion she was able to capture and put into that song. There is all of Reputation, which is like the getting to know someone. There's all of Lover, the anxieties that come with worrying about if someone left, things like that. But this song being about longing for just that feeling, that emotion that it represents, to feel so known by someone, and like someone that sees you for who you are, not just fans, not family, but someone that didn't know you and now does and loves you. Oh, I think that's really interesting. So songs like Enchanted or even Untouchable, they were always aimed at a certain muse, whereas this song is like wanting someone to fill that gap, you know? And the way she sings Please, which is just like pleading with everything you have, makes it all the more heartbreaking.
Please, I've been on my knees.
Wow, another religious reference. Praying. We've got to dig into this at some point. That is actually especially interesting when we compare it to Clara Bow when she sings, I think I might die if I made it. All she wants is to make it and to, you know, get her start, get her name, have this career that she always dreamed of. The prophecy is the flip side of that. The prophecy is everything she sacrificed for that dream to come true. This song is letting us know what she feels like it cost her. And in the Lover Journal, she wrote about how she feels like she is always the one before you meet the one. You know, she's destined to be. I think she did use the word destined as well. It's like it felt like it was prophesized that she would always be, you know, the one before the guy who meets the one. Like, good luck, Chuck. And what a devastating feeling that is, especially as a woman, I have to say, because don't we all know the feeling of like taking a man and I'm not gonna say mothering him, but like raising him, you know, making him a better person, whether that's just his music taste and outfit choices, or even educating him, making him a better person, only for the next girl to like enjoy him. And doesn't she sing about that on another song? Something about I founded the club she's heard great things about. Anyway, I'm getting off track. To summarize, The Prophecy is her most vulnerable song to date, and I love it. But I will say it hurt a lot. It hurt like a bitch, and I'm glad I didn't react to it because it was a lot. You know, as someone that, I mentioned this in my previous video, like didn't date in high school, felt like I would never find love. Anyone that grew up like not very popular in school or just having experiences with bullies understands that. The feeling of not being chosen and wanted, oof. If you like this song, firstly, I love you and I hope you're okay. Secondly, listen to Wanted by Hunter Hayes. Let's cut that a little bit deeper. Let's reopen that wound. Next up, we have Cassandra, or Cassandra, depending where you are. And what I wrote for this was, welcome back, Mad Woman. This piano, it's just Mad Woman. The melody and the way that it builds.
Every time you call me crazy, again more crazy.
Some of these songs I still don't know all the words to because I'm just stuck with So High School and I'm Gonna Get You Back on repeat. Thematically, this made a lot of sense to me. When the first stone's thrown, they're screaming. In the streets, there's a raging riot. When it's burn the bitch, they're shrieking. But yet, when the truth comes out, it's quiet.
Where's the news and the media?
No one apologized to her when the truth was revealed, that she was right the whole time, that she had been unfairly and incorrectly hated on by the entire world for a year. There was silence. Everyone loves criticizing a woman, taking her down, getting involved in the conversation around hating on her. That's way more fun than being like, oh, actually she was right and we were wrong. That part's not as fun, so we don't see it. And if I were her, my God, I would never get over that. When it's burn the bitch, they're shrieking. When the truth comes out, it's quiet. Exactly. This song just represents that feeling of do you believe me now? You know, when you just know someone is bad and maybe they've treated you badly, yet everyone else is like, no, they're great, I love them. And then finally the world sees their true colors and you're just like, I told you. This is my favorite part. That's the worst part. It's not like it was a misunderstanding. This was a deliberate act. It was a deliberate choice to edit that phone call and post that tweet knowing you were in the wrong. All of these things were done with intention. Putting her naked body in your music video, saying you might still have sex and she owes you her career, and that video is still being on YouTube today. These are all deliberate choices, so someone can't say oh, it was an accident, I didn't mean to hurt you. They knew the whole time.
The whole time you would, the whole time
that I was onto something. Her voice when she sings that. The chorus of her voices in the background, genius. They all said nothing. Blood's thick, but nothing like a payroll. I will admit that line stumps me a little bit because it sounds like she's saying blood's thick, but they'll betray their family for money, right? But the family in question hasn't done that to my understanding. So is it kind of saying that blood's thick, this family is loyal as hell, but if it came down to it at the end of the day, there may come a time when that does happen and that takes precedence? I don't know. It's the but that is throwing me off. Blood's thick, but nothing like a payroll, instead of blood's thick and there's nothing like a payroll, because then it would make sense to me. Blood's thick and you'll do anything for money. This is just such a good song. So I didn't know a lot about the backstory of Cassandra. What I understand is Cassandra was cursed by Apollo, or given the gift of prophecy, right? Which, ironic. The prophecy. Given the gift of prophecy, but cursed that no one would ever believe her prophecies. She tried to warn the town about a war that's going to happen, and yet no one believed her. That was my interpretation of this. Someone that is more educated, please correct me or please expand upon that, because if that is where she's coming from, this is so interesting. Was Cassandra killed because she feared the worst and tried to tell the town? I think I need to go and listen to The History of Man again after this. And speaking of Maisie Peters, next up we have Peter. And as a lover of Maisie Peters' song, Wendy, boy was this a perfect song. So here we see the classic tale of a man who is perpetually a boy and cannot or will not grow up. Also, let me know if this sounds similar to you guys, because when I heard this part, my brain heard Boston. This is the song I would say on the album that feels the most like poetry, the way the rhyming scheme, the rule that it follows doesn't really skip a line. It's all rhyming. The goddess of timing once found us beguiling. She said she was trying. Peter, was she lying? Also, the repetition of the chorus kind of feels like someone ruminating on a thought, right? You said you were going to grow up, then you were going to come find me. Repeat, repeat, repeat. She keeps going over what this person said, maybe to be did you mean it? Did I hear it wrong? Why hasn't this come true? I loved, as the men masqueraded, I hope you've returned with your feet on the ground, tell me all that you've learned, because love's never lost when perspective is earned. She was willing to not give up or overlook, but wait for this person to mature and have their life experiences and come back to each other. But the shelf life of those fantasies has expired. Lost to the Lost Boys chapter of your life. Forgive me, Peter. Please know that I tried. It's interesting that in this song, she's expressing her disappointment at this person for not growing up, yet still says, forgive me, Peter. Please know that I tried. She's not really blaming them for it. She's saying, hey, I tried my best, but now I have to move on. this whole time she was just waiting, hoping that he would mature. And I do love all of the Peter Pan references, like the Lost Boys, or I hope you've returned with your feet on the ground. That kind of has the double meaning of someone having their feet on the ground, being grounded, mature, in tune with reality, but also, you know, Peter Pan obviously flies, and she was hoping he would, you know, return from Neverland and touch back down. And she was even making excuses for his like perpetual youth, saying, tell me all that you've learned, because love's never lost when perspective is earned. She's saying, if all of this has been worthwhile and you'll come back to me having grown and learned and like can teach me things, it'll be worth it. But he didn't. I have to admit, because this is me sharing my thoughts upon first listen, I have to admit where my brain went. And that is that we do have other references. Some of you know where this is going. We have other references to the story of Peter and Wendy in the Taylor Swift cinematic universe, and that is on Cardigan. And Cardigan also gave us this. And that is all I'll say on that. Thank you very much. Next we have the Bolter. Times like these when it's getting dark and my lighting just sucks, that I wish this was a podcast instead and you guys didn't have to deal with this. I'm so sorry. I know some of you listen to this as a podcast anyway. So shout out to any of you only hearing me right now. The Bolter, I found one of the most intriguing songs on, I keep wanting to call it the manuscript, which reiterates that would have been a Slay album name. One of the most intriguing songs on the anthology. And it made me wonder if this was autobiographical. Obviously in my predictions, I think I said, you know, I'm assuming this is about someone that runs from relationships, and I think the automatic assumption to make is that it's someone else leaving her, that I thought it could be a reflection on Taylor herself, like looking at herself, calling herself the Bolter.
By all accounts, she almost drowned when she was 6 in frigid water.
For some reason, this just feels like the most Taylor Swift song that has ever existed. Like this part.
Started with a kiss, oh we must stop beating like this, but it always ends up with a town car speeding.
Does that melody not exist already? It sounds so familiar. Also, did anyone think here
He was a cat, wanted her back,
that she said he was a cat? Because that's what I heard. This line.
just like any good trophy hunter.
So I took that line, just like any good trophy hunter, to mean he was looking for a trophy wife. Like she's projecting that kind of picket fence relationship, which I think kind of calls back to Fortnite, singing about like, now we're just good neighbors, my husband's cheating, I want to kill it. Like all of that sort of imagery comes into play for me on this song. So we have started with a kiss, oh we must stop meeting like this, but it always ends up with a town car speeding. But the most important part, ended with the slam of a door, then he'll call her whore. Okay, slam and screen door reference. Like we have Getaway Car and Our Song references in one chorus here. So obviously that is an Easter egg that Reputation and Debut TV are up next. Finally, the last song we have to discuss is Robin. It's just so beautiful melodically. This is one of her most beautiful songs. I think just the choice of instruments and the way this song builds really feels like a peaceful melody. And lyrically, it's like if Never Grow Up and 7 had a baby. She's writing about the innocence of childhood, how, you know, how the world looks through a young person's eyes that hasn't experienced trauma or heartbreak or grief yet, which is such an interesting lens when we compare it to the rest of this album, especially the first half, or the Black Dog, or the manuscript, or the prophecy, things like such deep and adult experiences, to then have this song Robin, which is so beautifully innocent. I really like that. It's the feeling of weightlessness before you are weighed down by adulthood, or, you know, even self-awareness, like Who's Afraid of Little Old Me. My favorite lyric that I wrote down was, you have no room in your dreams for regrets, you have no idea. Like you are so untouched by the harm of the world yet that all you have is like beautiful dreams. Like, you know, when you ask a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like an astronaut or a doctor, and like I think maybe at that time they don't know the sacrifices that would require, how difficult that is, how, you know, what a privileged position that would be to make it that far. All you have at that age is dreaming, and how beautiful that is. And God, I wish we could stay that way forever. I will admit a lyric that I misheard here. My brain was like, in Sweden? That's what I was preparing to hear. But yes, this is a beautiful song. Before listening, I obviously didn't know that Aaron Dessner's son is called Robin, which is so beautiful. So I think this song is, in a way, dedicated to him, written for him, just in the hopes of capturing that childlike innocence, which can't we just hold on to forever? God damn, Peter Pan had a point. I think my favorite lyric was, you'll learn to bounce back just like your trampoline. So sweet. Now, obviously you guys saw my full reaction breakdown, both analytically and emotionally, to the manuscript, so that will be linked below. But that brings us to the end of the anthology. Therefore, it is time to talk about the Eras Tour. So firstly, if you're wondering, why do I think the Tortured Poets department is being added to the Eras Tour? This video, for starters, definitely the inclusion of the white microphone, which we actually saw like a year ago, yet didn't think anything of it. Might have attributed it to folklore, but now we know all along that was an entirely new era. And also this white guitar, which we have in fact also seen at this event. Also, you can very clearly see the Tortured Poets department logo here, and we've seen the dancers wearing outfits with props that we have not yet seen on the Eras Tour. So I'm considering it confirmed in my mind. So again, this is something that I want to hear all of your predictions for in the comments below, because it's going to be very soon by the time this video comes out, and I cannot wait to see what happens. Unfortunately, the Eras Tour is now going to be 4 AM my time, so that'll be interesting. And as someone that stays up until about 2 AM editing, I don't think that's a good wake up time for me. Okay, outfit wise, I think we're going to see some sort of structured silhouette up here and then flowy dress, kind of like those Victorian morning dresses that we see in the Fortnite music video, paired with those hideously scary shoes that remind me of the Wizard of Oz. I would love it if she did like a sexy white lace dress, kind of inspired by the Grammys white Fortnite dress, and then to tear it off and reveal a white bodysuit underneath. Do I think it thematically works? I don't care. I know this also isn't very on theme, but I just think this kind of vibe would look incredible. And even though you can't really change hair and makeup during the show, I feel like Amanda in this photo really captures the Fortnite music video so well. Now, I guess another question I would ask you guys is if you think the Tortured Poets department will get its own tour. I don't know how I feel about this. If she weren't on tour now, obviously I would say yes. The fact that she is on tour now until the rest of the year and possibly even extended into next year makes it hard, because this album has been written already over the past 2 years, which means she's currently probably working on the next album. So I don't know if I see that happening, which is why I could imagine it being added to this tour and why that makes sense. I also don't think a lot of these songs were made for touring, but I said that about Folklore and Evermore in my Eras Tour predictions video, and look what happened. So don't take my word. Now that I've actually heard the songs on this album, I'm praying that I was wrong in whichever video I predicted that these songs would be added to the surprise song set, because I just feel like these songs deserve a full production. Like, can you imagine Who's Afraid of Little Old Me acoustically? It would hit, but it deserves to go full out, you know? Okay, so the songs that I think could be added to the set list are: number 1, Fortnite. Solely because it was the lead single, meaning like Taylor chose this, and we know Taylor chose this ahead of time, ahead of any fan reception. She wanted this to be like the single, so it kind of represented the album for her, and it's upbeat enough that I could see it really working. I think Who's Afraid of Little Old Me is also pretty much confirmed in my mind. I think these canes and like top hats feel very circusy, which fit with the lyrics. That is a song also that just feels like it was meant to be like screamed in a stadium. God, I hope that one's true. I would love to see Guilty as Sin or Down Bad. I think one of those would really work well as kind of like a mid-tempo, sexy, interesting sound. Wishful thinking, I would love to see So High School. Do I think it's likely that she would sing Touch Me While Your Bros Play Grand Theft Auto? No, but I hope she does. I could also see really, really interesting visuals for Fresh Out the Slammer on tour. Sonically, I think that would be so fun as well. And personally, I would love for Clara Bow to be added. I think that could be a really beautiful piano performance, acoustic performance. Oh my God, I just got goosebumps thinking about that. And I think that is the one song that would make me feel jealous to not, you know, see this part of the tour. 2 songs that would be fun but ironic to hear would be But Daddy I Love Him and I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, for obvious reasons. I think But Daddy I Love Him would work. I mean, it is the perfect sound. It is just lyrically a little bit direct, but then again, it's like, well, the people that's about, maybe they deserve to feel uncomfortable, you know? That's not necessarily a bad thing. And I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, again, it's just like the irony of hearing her sing about being on the Eras Tour and struggling because of how bad her mental health and grief and broken heart was. I don't know, would she sing to a crowd, I'm miserable, and nobody even knows? Or do you cut that part from the song? I guess the next question is, do you think songs will be cut to make way for these new Tortured Poet songs? Because my initial thought was, yes, absolutely. The show is already so long, I can't imagine a world where we add like another 20 minutes. Personally, I do think cuts will be made. Let me know what you think. The songs that I predict will be cut are the songs that were cut from the Eras Tour movie. Hopefully not Long Live. I will say that. I want everyone to experience Long Live if possible. I would rather cut Enchanted than Long Live, but that could just be me. That could just be the nostalgic little bitch in me who loves Long Live and like seeing the band up there with her. So if we cut the film songs, that means we're losing The Archer and Wildest Dreams, but we also have to remember that Paramore are opening, which means we might be adding Castles Crumbling. Personally, I can't see her cutting Cardigan from from the tour set list, even though it was cut from the movie. But then again, she did choose to cut that from the film. So anything is possible. My personal choices would be to cut, I think, The Archer or Lover. I keep one, but I can't keep both. We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together or I Knew You Were Trouble. Again, you can't have both. I'm sorry. I would get rid of one of those. And what else? I would maybe take Midnight Rain, but you can't because it's the outfit transition. Speaking of which, do you think we will see this outfit again? We haven't seen it since I wore that to the Eras tour, so maybe she's too intimidated. I'm so sorry. Well, those are my predictions for the Eras tour. I'm very, very keen to hear your thoughts. I'm gonna try and edit this as quickly as I can so there's some buffer room before the tour starts up again, but I'm just so excited to see this kind of new chapter of the Eras tour and what it may bring. Thank you guys for sitting here with me today. I know I didn't give you what you wanted, which was a reaction, so I hope this kind of first thoughts, like scraping the surface of my interpretation of these songs was okay. I obviously didn't want to go too deep because I'm hoping to do a more in-depth analysis of these songs, so I tried to keep it pretty surface level of, you know, just first listen what I was able to take in. However, now that I've done that, feel free to fill the comments with all of the, you know, deeper interpretations, connections, metaphors, links, and parallels that you have found across the anthology. I love reading all of your thoughts and I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you all for being here. I love you and I will see you soon. Bye.
Is this what it feels like to grow up?